Did you know that the prison population in the United States has nearly doubled in the past decade? In fact, the rate of incarceration has skyrocketed so much that additional federal and state prisons have had to be built. Yet still, many of these facilities have reached past maximum capacity. As if prison wasn't a bad enough experience in the first place, things have only worsened since the population has increased. Imagine this. You're stuck in prison in an overcrowded building all day and all night with no time to yourself for several years. Society has high hopes of fixing your problem and integrating you back into society, yet they stick you with the most unbearable and close-quarter living arrangements, including more social interactions with prisoners and less with civilized people, and hardly any jobs or programs to further help your progress. This is just a small glimpse of the problems it has caused. First, in order to understand the problematic role that overcrowded prisons play in society, you must be able to recognize how this has become such a problem. More and more people are convicted of crimes each year, but there's no room in prisons to hold them. So we must ask ourselves, are more people committing crimes, or are more people being convicted? Law enforcement has been cracking down on crime, especially with the war of drugs and mandatory minimum sentencing. We have built more prisons to make accommodations, but the budgets have become tighter and there are less programs available. These prisons also have become full soon after being built. Now that we've discussed how overcrowding has become so prevalent in our country, let me point out the problems it has caused. Prisoners' experiences have worsened because of a decrease in resources, good jobs, programs, and education. Prisoners have no outlets to release tension because of the lack of adequate programs. The staff-to-prisoner ratio is also so unbalanced that prisoners do not receive enough attention for their problems. These crowded living conditions often lead to conflict, such as fights, gangs, self-deterioration, sexual assault, and rape. There is not nearly enough space or time for these much-needed programs. The scarce space that was once available for them has now been filled with bed space. Also, instead of investment in programs, prisons now use their budgets for more security and more surveillance. Because of this harsh atmosphere and lack of help, inmates do not mainstream well into society. Much of the time, these prisoners end up back in jail recently after being released. So how do we eliminate this problem, if possible? There is no simple solution, or it would have been done by now, but I do have a few ideas of my own. Instead of sending drug dealers to prison, we should rehabilitate them. We should also create more programs and activities to mainstream prisoners so that recidivism rates decrease. Finally, we should spend more of our budget on helping, such as counseling and education, so that prisoners can succeed when they are released. As you've heard, there are numerous flaws in our criminal justice system that have led to the major problem of overcrowded prisons. Not only is it a problem for the prisoners, but for everyone in society. If we could just educate prisoners and fix their problems, then there would be no need to stuff them in overcrowded prisons, which have basically become prisoner daycares. I hope you understand the negative effects of this problem, the dehumanizing and problematic experiences it has caused for prisoners, and the mayhem in our criminal justice system. So given what we know now, let's hope for a change so that we may operate our nation's prison below the maximum capacity level. My sources are www.prisoncommission.org, www.columbianmissouri.com, crime and punishment homepage at www.about.com. Thank you.
Shut up. Shut up.